Hello and welcome back to the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Christian J. Fischer. So, in this show, we don't just talk about business, we challenge the way entrepreneurs think, build, and scale. So, today we're diving into a challenge every solopreneur, every founder, every lean and leader faces. And that's making execution level decisions without having a big team around them. I've been there. So you know that moment when you start at a decision that could shape your future of your business, but there's no boardroom, no advisors, no high-powered execs. Nobody is weighing in. It's just you and your doubts. Have you been there? But what if I told you you are never actually alone? What if you could build your own inner boardroom, a mental table of advisors and consultants anytime, anywhere? That's exactly what we will unpack today, because once you master this, and you need to listen, once you master this, you will never second guess your decisions ever the same way again. So today, let's talk about the challenge of solopreneur decision making. As a entrepreneur, we face physician fatigue almost every single day. And if you're not, maybe it's just me, but you face that almost every single day. Should I launch this program now? Should I wait? Should I hire that person or keep bootstrapping it? Do I just double down and work on what's working, or do I pivot before it's too late? And when you don't have that team of executives around you, the ones which weigh in every choice literally sits on your shoulders, that's when you start to overthink, where you start to think about, hey, what if I'm doing it wrong? That's when you start really second guessing yourself. Listen, I've been there. Would some of you, and maybe some of my biggest opportunities almost slipped away because I got stuck in my own head. And there's a little saying we learned this from Tony Robbins: when you're in your head, you're dead. Have you heard about that? That was a time I almost passed on that deal that later became a six-figure payday just because I didn't have anyone I can bounce it off of. And for me, that's what the entrepreneurs or a lot of you guys face every day. But there's the truth. Speed and clarity are a competitive edge. The leader who wins aren't always the ones who get, it right every single time. They are the ones who decide quickly, and they will change course of directions fast. And that's what I have learned from one of my mentors. So what do I do in order to get that inner boardroom? So that for me is simple. So let's create your inner boardroom. So if you think like this, instead of relying on a team of outside advisors, you build a mental table of voices you can consult on. 4 seats, 5 seats, whatever your perspective is, and have those filter run your decision through. I like 4 seats. And as I started out, I had 4 seats in my group. I had somebody I called the visionary. That's the big picture thinker. They ask, hey, what does decision lead us to in the next 5 years? Then I had the operator. They're focusing on the system. They're focusing on execution, and they will ask, what's the process? How do I make this work in real life? Then I had the skeptic. They challenge absolutely everything. They challenge assumption. They ask, what blind spots are we ignoring? And my 4th one was the customer or stakeholder, whatever you want to call it. They represent the people we serve. They ask, how does this decision impact the people who matter most? So let me give you a quick example. If you are deciding whether to launch a 10,000 monthly coaching program, the advisor would say, hey, this scales your business and sets you up for future growth. The operator would say, hey, we need a clear boardroom. We need a clear onboarding. We need a system before we roll this out. The skeptic would say, are we 100% sure the pricing matches the market? And the customer will say, will this program truly solve my pain point? So for me, that's when you run through this. By the time you run through this and consider each of the voices, you are covered future vision, you covered processes, you covered risk, you cover customer alignment. That 360 perspective without needing all those people in a boardroom. And that's for me the single best thing I learned from my mentor. So now, how do you create that decision making framework? Now, let's put together that real framework behind this so you can stop overthinking and you can do faster. And there's three rules we have. There's the first one is we call the 70% rule. If you give 70% of the information you need, it's time to decide. Waiting for 100% usually means that you have missed that window or you missed that opportunity. One way versus two-way doors. And that's something I have learned because that decision permanently marks a reverse. Will it reverse? Will it go faster? Will it permanently slow down? It's a great way of thinking about it. And then we have third one is impact or effort matrix, whatever you want to call it. But every decision on a grid, high impact, low effort, everything which moves you and every move you should make that gets you that priority. So I used to use that 70% rule when I launched one of my programs. I didn't, or I did at the time, did I have every single detail to work it out? And I didn't. But waiting for the perfect moment for me meant that I missed out 1 or 2, 3 months of getting that momentum. And guess what? We fixed the details along the way while we worked it. And I have this little saying here, progress over perfection. And that came from that. Because if you avoid that, there's something which is called the avoiding analysis paralysis. Oh, I'm saying this wrong. So for me, is so how do you keep yourself from getting stuck? Ask yourself that again. How do you keep yourself from getting stuck? A couple of rules we live by is we set deadlines. We decide in 24 hours, not 24 days. Okay. You need to have that gut check, that reality check. If you're 51% sure, be moving forward. Okay. And then also tread what are some of the mistakes? What are some of the mistakes we made, which worked as an experiment? They are not failing, they are data. And for me, that's what this is all about because if you make decisions quick, you will accumulate data fast. So once you have that green light project and you have, you know what, it completely flopped, okay, you instead of seeing it as a waste of time, a waste of whatever, I look at it as a tuition. What did I learn? What did I take into that next decision? What's that one thing on how do you build that resilience? For me, all of those things kind of help out to make it that final decision. So, all right, let's make it a practice. The second, a picture your own in a boardroom. Picture that what that looks like. 4 chairs around the table. Who is the visionary? Who is the operator? Who is the skeptic? Who is the customer? And now add the bonus seat. And that's maybe your mentor. Maybe It's something you have and you choose, hey, this is my fate voice. It's something which could be your future self. So now you need to write down. And the next time when you face that big decision, don't sit there. Don't sit there spinning. Walk around the table. And I did this all the time. It's kind of silly the first time you do it, and you let each of the voices speak. Then you make a call, and you will see that you will make 99% the right call. So, how do we land this plane? Here's how the day stakeholders act. So, you don't need a massive team of this high powered decision making. What you need is that in a boardroom, you need that visionary, you need that operator, you need the skeptic, you need the customer. You know what? They sitting at your table at all times. And every time you make a decision, you make it around that. Every great leader has that advisory group. As a solopreneur, your first job is you build them, and you build them inside yourself. Here's the challenge this week. I want you to write down, what does your inner boardroom look like? Write down your boardroom, set it up. Who is used to, sitting next to you? What is that next big decision? Then you share it with somebody or share it with me. I would love to hear who's sitting at your table. Connect with me. Connect with me on LinkedIn or connect with me here below on the comments below. Shoot me an email. Shoot me a text and say, hey, these are the people who are sitting on my inner boardroom. And the reason I wanted to share this with you guys today, because that was for me the single biggest decision maker I had. And when you do this, have those 4 people. And even if you don't have a mentor, by the way, I encourage everybody to have a mentor, to have that decision making, because hey, what does each of those seats do? What is that visionary? What is he looking for? What is the operator? This is the guy doing the job. What is the skeptic? And what does the customer need? And that's really simple, because that's the goal you will solve. So with that, I want to say thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur show. And I want to say thank you for being here. We're over 200 episodes in the day. So if you got value out of today's call, hit subscribe. Hey, leave a review. Share this with someone else who you feel would benefit from knowing. And when they are, especially in this process of building their own empire, I'm telling you, this was the single best decision we made. So with that, I want to say thanks for being here today. Until next time, stay disruptive, stay decisive, and build forward. With that, I want to say thanks for being here, and I see you next Friday. Thanks, everybody.